So I ordered up a set of Rokblokz mud flaps for my 2013 Crosstrek. This is how they come packaged. Cellophane wrapped, and then the hardware is taped to the outside, and then all of the instructions are inside. I've opened up the package. Hardware is labeled front and rear. There's a couple of sheets worth of instructions. 2 sheets worth of photos. And a little thank you letter. You've got the 2 fronts and the 2 rears. One of the things I like about this brand of mud flap is that it's a textured appearance, textured finish instead of a gloss finish. I'm going to walk you through the steps to install the Rokblokz rear mud flaps on my 2013 Crosstrek. First step is to release this little plastic push pin. I've already released it. And then there's also one back here on a little tab that holds the bottom of the factory splash guard up into the bottom of the bumper cover. I've already taken that one out as well. That one is a little bit more challenging. And using a 8mm socket or a Phillips screwdriver, you can choose to install the mud flaps with or without your factory splash guards. I'm going to install them with the splash guards in place because this being a pre-owned car, you can see there's a little bit of a paint rub mark there, so I don't want to have that visible, so I will leave the factory splash guards in place. Part of the process of installing the mud flaps, though, requires removing the factory splash guards. So once you have that splash guard off, you take this clip out and install one of these, or you can choose to go to a hardware store and buy an 5mm, it's 0.80 thread pitch. So that's what I've done, is I've bought some longer screws like this in stainless to just thread into my existing. Otherwise, install this right there. The next step is clean that up a little bit. What I'm going to do is put a little piece of tape there. And take your mud flap, line it up, center it over that hole, and kind of get it generally lined up here. I'm just going to do this, just trace the hole, or you can just mark the center. I'm going to do that so I get an idea of where this is in relation to the width of the bumper cover, the flare on the bumper cover. So that looks like it's about in the same orientation. It's inboard from the outside. So I will go ahead and mark a spot for my hole. And drill my hole. The challenging part is you need to, if you're going to reuse the factory splash guards, you need to mark, or you need to drill this to generally line up with that. There is one step that I kind of missed here, is I should have lined this up with that hole in the back. What I'll go ahead and do next is there's a little insert that goes in there And that's what one of your, it's actually your long screw is going to thread into that through this hole, along with a spacer and a flat washer. So I will put this back in place. This is where it gets to be just a little bit of a challenge. Taking a fairly good educated guess. Try to line everything up again. And you'd want to push your splash guard up so that these two holes line up with each other. Once you get this lined up, it's not super important that this hole be exact, because you can enlarge the hole a little bit to get it to match up exactly with the hole in the flare. Actually, it looks like I got that dead on. And then I will take this out. Yep, I did. That was pure luck. Tape off. And this clip here, I have flattened one side of it because that angles out to the left, and with that angle it was extremely difficult on the other side to get this to pop over, because there's very little give or ability to separate this inner piece from this outer piece. So I'm going to take my trim panel tool and spread these apart just a little bit. My large screwdriver actually works better. Okay, now that that's in place, I took this out when I was lining everything up to drill that lower hole. So what we've got for hardware is a long screw, large black fender washer, goes through this hole, and then a spacer. And all of that goes in that little button that we had installed. So I'll get that screw started. And another fender washer and the short screw. That all goes in our bottom hole, and just kind of look through there and get everything lined up. Depending on the size of your hole that you drilled dictates how hard this is going to be to thread into place. My hole is a little bit on the small side, so it's going to take a little bit of extra effort to get that to thread in. And then here's one of my stainless screws to install in the existing nut insert here. So I'll take another fender washer, and then I'm going to put a little dollop of thread locking compound on that. Get that screw started. Stubby Phillips screwdriver works good. And these have some inward and outward adjustment, as well as just a little bit of up and down. I'm going to push these in all the way. I'll probably have to make some final adjustments for tilt or level once I put the tire back on and get the car back on the ground. Make some basic adjustments to my level, but I'm sure it's not going to be exact. And that's really about all there is to it. It probably takes 15 minutes to install the rear. And if you're reusing or reinstalling the factory splash guards, don't forget to put your little push pin in behind here. I've got the tire back mounted, and I have a little right angle screwdriver I'm going to use to loosen these up a little bit and make some final adjustments. Once you have your wheels remounted, be sure to torque your lug nuts. The specs in the manual for this one call for 89 foot-pounds, and torque them in a cross pattern.